let me introduce you to a agency that I have affectionately nicknamed my Swiss Army marketing agency, because this agency has everything. I just like to give them little nicknames, but this company is an award-winning B2B marketing, advertising, and public relations agency. Similar to that, you can see how I have some fundamentals that I love in both of these deals. The one you just saw and this one have over 20 years in business. And similarly, a long tenured team of 12 full-time employees who work mostly on site. So you can see I look for the same things. And then they also have in-house capabilities in traditional, digital, and experiential marketing. So here's their financial performance in a nutshell. Adjusted gross income of 2 million, adjusted EBITDA of around $500,000, around 600,000. This is an average of their 2022 and 2023 forecast. So what do they offer? I was not kidding when I say they literally offer pretty much the full stack: advertising, brand strategy, content, websites, video production, SEO, product launches, PR, social media campaigns, trade show exhibits, and market research. One question I got at Dealmaker Live was, how do you do that with a relatively small team? The answer is that they have a very long tenured team. So they have several team members who do take on multiple and kind of stacked, integrated approaches to delivering some of these products. And then also they keep product management in-house, but they do outsource a couple things, such as, I know they outsource their trade show exhibits and some market research, as well as any product shopping cart build outs. They also outsource that. So their verticals, their main verticals are animal health, pest management, medical diagnostic, and tools and equipment, and packaging. Then they also have exposure in food and food processing, material handling, lawn care, turf, and ornamental. I really like these verticals because these are really, cost independent. For the people who are buying these products need them. There's not a lot of price sensitivity in these markets. The other thing I love about these markets is that they're absolutely massive. These are their top 4 markets that they play in, and they clearly have a ton of opportunity here. And so I also love these competitive differentiators. Besides their in-house fulfillment capabilities, which I've touched on, the Swiss Army knife is really good at cutting through red tape. So they have experience with USDA, FDA, and EPA regulated products, and they have deep understanding of how that category operates. So their clients, what this ends up being is they just are sticky as hell with the clients that they service. Their clients, speaking of clients, are long-term retainer clients with full service contracts. So the answer here for a lot of people who are asking, how do they make their money? Retainers. And these retainers are typically lasting, their client relationships span, 5 to 10 years. So they have very happy clients and very strong relationships. These are family-owned factories, but also several large multinational corporations. They have 2 main client acquisition channels, which means they have a big blue ocean of opportunity when it comes to adding new acquisition channels. What they do currently is they show up in target-rich environments like trade shows, expos, and conferences. So not only does their CEO do this, but they also have a couple of senior account managers who just go to trade shows, talk to targets. And so they also they get inbound content from their referral network, but that's about it. So I see a ton of opportunity to both build off their existing warm audience and continue to expand that audience so that we can actually do some traditional, lead nurturing and really build and capitalize on the audience they already have. Their founder and sole shareholder is preparing for retirement. He's 67. He would like to be retired by the time he's 70. He is a thoughtful he strikes me as a thoughtful and prepared person who has already taken the step of removing himself from day-to-day management of client accounts. So he really focuses on client relationships and bringing in new business. He's perfectly willing to stay on as a strategic director in that role for 1 to 2 years to facilitate a transition. And he has incentivized his senior team and leadership to stay with a phantom stock plan. I'll just talk you through this one sheet real quick. 2023 projected is 1.9. 2022 was 2.2. So you can see a slight drop, which was definitely a point of discussion when we presented this in Atlanta. Their adjusted EBITDA comes out at just about $500,000 for 2023 projections. And then let's see, we are looking at pretty, roughly high motivation. The bigger concern when we've initially met with the seller, his motivations are you going to preserve my team? Are you going to keep everything, take care of the clients? They would heavily prefer that the buyer already, we learned this recently this week, they would prefer that the buyer already own an agency. So fingers crossed that they are, certainly going to express to them that could soon acquire an agency in the meantime, but they really would like the buyer to own an agency already. We're still looking at getting customer concentration and revenue analysis from them, but there's not a lot of surprises, I think, in store there, considering that a lot of their revenue does come from retainer clients. Cash on hand, certainly a healthy amount. Accounts receivable around $300K. Accounts payable around $50K. 12 employees, 38 customers that I'm aware of. Let's see. I think at this point, I'm going to open it up to, asking price. So I have gotten a little bit of clarity on their asking price. They are hoping for a 3.5 to 4.5 multiple. I was initially imagining a 3 multiple and offering 1.5, which I still may do. But at least we've gotten that communication that they were looking at the 3.5 to 4.5 range. And with that, I'd like to open up to questions.
Great presentation. So obviously I love this deal and I love the pitch. Jeremy saw this as well. Stephen, did you see this in Atlanta?
Yeah, I did. It was fantastic when Aaron presented it the first time. Just as fantastic this time around. Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, guys. So, my analysis of this deal, if you were in Atlanta, was pretty solid. I still love the deal. I think it's amazing. I love the Swiss Army knife marketing analogy. Anybody got any questions for Aaron on this? But again, guys, this is how you pitch, right? This is how you put a deal together. This is how you create a one sheet. This is how you create a presentation. And this is how you deliver it with confidence, with assurance. And yeah, let's get into the questions, because then you'll see how strong Aaron's conviction is on this deal as well, which is pretty phenomenal. David Giroll, you've got lots of questions. Your legal hat is on at all times. Why don't you come on the Zoom and let's start the debate? Because we've got 10, 15 minutes we can jam on this deal.
So one question, Aaron, I had was looking at 2023 projections. If this is a heavily retainer-based business, I was just curious if there's how you derive that projection, and if there's anything in the timing of retainer renewals that could skew that number up or down from whatever your takeoff point was.
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now we're in the rapport building phase with the seller. I think that these projections are, I would mainly attribute this to a boom year in 2022. So I'm trying to figure out if 2022 is the outlier, and 2023 is the normalization, or if there was something different about the year 2022. Because it's still kind of a mystery to me why the drop in 2023. The advice I got in Atlanta was to leverage this drop, kind of to slowly introduce it as why is this? What is the reason behind it, and how can we reflect that in the valuation? But right now, I would say we're at the phase with the seller where I want him to be very assured that we are the right buyer. So this conversation hasn't happened yet, just to be fully transparent.
So this is seller's projection for 2023.
This is seller's projection. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because a lot of times folks will take 6 months or 9 months and then annualize that number as the projected. So that was where my question was coming. Sometimes, particularly when there's something that's retainer based, if they get large deposits or something like that, 9 months isn't necessarily respective of 1 month times 9.
Yes, you could be right. You could be very right about that.
Yeah. Cool. And I guess the other question, just looking at the numbers, again, on a retainer based business, the 60 days AR is a little bit surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
So as you build the rapport, as you have the conversations, that would be another thing that I might kind of lean on that's 60 days AR in this business is a little heavy.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to add that to my list here.
Yeah. If folks are paying me up front for my work, why am I carrying that for 60 days?
No, that's an excellent question. Thank you, David.
Yeah. But no, other than that, I like this. You did a great job in Atlanta, and a great job here. It's a solid business. I mean, I'm not a marketing guy, so I don't begin to understand 90% of what you talked about in the business. But
that's why we need lawyers, David. That's why we need lawyers on deals.
Why we need lawyers.
That's right. That's right. And that's why I partner with people like Carl and Chris who understand the marketing. But yeah, no, I mean, otherwise, it looks fairly clean. I guess the other thing I would look at, we've got broadly, I'm looking here, I'm showing my Dealmaker age. I was out for when this new sheet got built, and I haven't learned where everything sits when I look back at it again. So I would look at customer concentration still. I mean, 38 customers is a nice broad bit, but I know they have some pretty big customers.
Yes.
Are any one or two of those customers that represent 10, 15, 20% of revenue? And that's another negotiating point then for that multiple.
100%. And they have what I've noticed is that they basically have one or two big clients in each of their big four verticals. My hope is that if we were to get in there, we could just concentrate the entire acquisition strategy on taking that 1 to 2 in each vertical to 2 to 3 in those 4 big verticals, because that would, double or triple the company in a matter of 5 years.
Nice.
Absolutely. And I think the important lesson to look at from that is don't confuse future possibility with valuation of the present business.
Right.
That's definitely a strategy, but you need to earn the result of the growth of that business. Don't pay them for the multiple for your strategy. If they've got a concentration, the multiple needs to reflect the present status of the business with that concentration, and then you have a plan to fix it.
That's a really good point. Can I ask you, speaking, since you did bring up the multiple, what do you think of their assertion 3.5 to 4.5? Because I'm trying to gut check that with Joy and I, and we think that's a little bit over.
Yeah, I think a 3x is spot on for this business, an average of about 500K of recasted EBITDA. I think 3x is about right. Steven's just, he's the king of these deals as well.
Right.
He's just alluded to in the chat. I think 3.5 to 4.5 is a little bit high. But to David's point, you can pay a 4.5 times multiple for a deal like this, but you're only going to pay 3x in terms of the guaranteed payments. Then the rest would come through some sort of earnout. But the beauty of this deal, the thing I like best about this deal is all of that surplus cash, which can really help you kind of jack up the closing payment. So I love deals where there's multiple ways to structure it, because as a deal maker, it gives you that, the Swiss Army knife, let's use that analogy, gives you the Swiss Army knife of deal structures to be able to go in and have a negotiation. So that was one of the things I loved about this deal most. Erin, great delivery again, great answering all the questions. It's a phenomenal opportunity.